competitor, number 15, Justin Holland.
Stuck in my ways, just somehow I know I'm gonna change. It makes me stronger every time I'm on my way down.
In April of 2016, I started losing my vision, and within 6 months, I had only light perception left. Now, over that 6 months, of course, I was faced with many challenges, obstacles, and problems to solve in my life. But one thing that helped me to kind of cope and to kind of deal with going blind was bodybuilding, fitness, and lifting weights. And, you know, I went to the gym as kind of my escape. And in October of 2017, I competed in my very first bodybuilding competition. So within a year and a half after I started losing my vision and going blind, I decided that, you know, it's time, I'm going to compete in my first bodybuilding competition. Now, fitness has always been, I've always had this passion and drive, and, you know, I've always wanted to do this ever since I was about 14 years old. Once I got into fitness, once I started working out, and I started falling in love with bodybuilding. And after a few years of lifting weights, I decided that, you know, I really wanted to, you know, get into the competing side. And I knew it entitled a lot, and it was a lot of hard work, and there's a lot that went into it. So I kept putting it off. I was busy with school, I was busy with work, and I was just busy with life in general. So I kept putting it off. And then in April of 2016, and over that, you know, 6 months time period of me going blind, I decided that, you know what, I'm gonna do it no matter what the circumstances are. I'm going to do what I've always wanted to do. I'm going to do what I love doing, and that is bodybuilding, and that is competing in bodybuilding. So that is how I ended up competing. Now, since I was still very new to the blind community, living life without vision, there was a lot of things that I had to learn along the way as far as preparing for this first competition. And I have to say, you know, everybody says this, but diet makes the biggest difference when it comes to overall health, when it comes to transforming your physique, and when it comes to making a change to your body. Diet is going to make the biggest difference. And when it comes to preparing for a bodybuilding competition, your diet has to be on key for, you know, I did a 20-week prep. So your diet has to be on key for a long, you know, on point for a long period of time. And, you know, that was definitely one of the most difficult things for me, was trying to track my macros in my FitnessPal. I actually have a video showing you guys how I track my macros with a screen reading software, obviously since I can't see it. My FitnessPal, and we'll go ahead and open that up. And if you are visually impaired or blind and use VoiceOver, which is of course what's going crazy on my phone right now, that's how I use my phone. If you use VoiceOver, my FitnessPal works very well. So she's opened up. Gotta add entry. But, you know, not being able to read nutrition labels, not being able to find a barcode on a box to scan it, or finding out how to do that, and all of these things adding up was definitely one of the difficult parts of me trying to compete without any vision. Now, I got into a groove, I would say, after 2 to 3 months of starting my prep for this competition. After 2 to 3 months after starting this prep for my competition, I got into a groove. My diet was not hard to keep up with. I found a system that worked best for me, you know, tracking my macros, you know, putting my food where they need to go, preparing my food, and all of these things. I got into a groove every day that I would basically do the same, and I would almost eat the same foods every day. So it was not very difficult after a few months and after I got everything kind of into its own little system. And then, you know, after about halfway through my prep, I started to really, since I did everything myself, I did, you know, I basically did my diet, I did my training, and other than posing, I did have a little bit of help from a gentleman in the gym that helped me with my posing, but everything else I did myself. And that was actually, it was very difficult, because after about 4 months, when I was about 2 months out from my prep, you know, I was 8 to 10 weeks out from my prep, my mind started to really play games with me. I started to get in this weird mental, I don't even know what it was just this weird mental situation where I didn't know whether I needed to stay at the size that I was at, whether I needed to drop a few more pounds, whether I needed to do more cardio. And the reason was the simple fact that I could not see what I looked like. Now, for someone with vision, they can go to the mirror and they can look at their physique in the mirror, or they can get someone to take pictures of them and they can look at the pictures and they can analyze. They can see, okay, I'm looking pretty good. I need to lose a bit more fat, or I need to do this. But for me, I don't have any vision. So what did I go off of? I went strictly off of feel. I had to feel my body. I'd feel this side, I'd feel this side, I'd feel, the subcutaneous, which is the fat under the skin. I would pinch the fat and see, But the thing is, I didn't have anything to gauge it off of. I could feel it, and of course, I was getting really, really thin, and I didn't have much fat under the skin, but I did not know how did I look compared to the guy that won this show a year before this. You can go and look at the pictures and the people that won the year before, or just go and look at videos of people that compete. And since this is my first competition, I didn't really know. I was going strictly off of what I thought I knew. And it really, like I said, when I was about 10 weeks out, it really started playing games with me, because I felt like I needed to be leaner, but I was already down to about 168 pounds, or almost 170, 168 pounds, which is where I wanted to end my prep, which I thought when I started. But it was this big mental battle, and I would have to say the most difficult part of competing in my first bodybuilding competition and preparing for it without any vision was that alone. Doing it by myself, and strictly going off of feel, not being able to see what I look like, not being able to see what other competitors and other people in the bodybuilding community looks like. I didn't know how, I knew I was in really, really good shape, but I didn't know how good a shape I was in. I didn't know, I might be lean, but am I really stage ready? Am I ready to step on stage? And I still, up until the day of the competition, that mental battle, it was really just this challenge and mental battle with myself. It never ended. I was always contemplating. I was always stressed out. I was always, what should I do? Should I do this? Am I good? Should I do this, or should I do that? And that was definitely the more difficult part about me competing without any vision. Now, as far as the whole experience, going backstage, going to the competition, and all of that, I have to say that I probably had an advantage on some of the people. I just talked about really the more difficult things, not being able to see what I looked like. But when it came to posing, I can't see myself in the mirror, which for me is a good thing, because a lot of guys, when they practice posing, they go and they stand in front of a mirror, they practice their posing routine in front of a mirror, or they'll record themselves and they'll watch it over and they can see what they are doing. But for me, I never have that mirror in front of me. I never have anything to look at. I'm always going strictly off of feel. I lock in the pose, and I know how it feels off of muscle memory, off of repetition, and just doing it so many times and locking it in the right position. I know what it feels like. So when I stepped on stage for my mandatory poses, my prejudging, when I stepped on stage with all those other guys, they walked me out on stage, and then when they lined me up, they called out the poses. It was just like I was doing it in practice. I couldn't see the fans, or I couldn't see the crowd, so there was no way I was going to get stage fright. And also, the mirror that most guys have in front of them, well, I've never had that mirror. I strictly go off of feel. So I think that was definitely an advantage as far as competing blind. And I think that if you are someone who competes in bodybuilding, that you should try to practice your posing blindfolded, or close your eyes, because it's going to help you more. And when you get on stage, it's almost the same as doing it with a blindfold on, because you can't see what you're looking like, and you're strictly going off of feel, which was an advantage for me. And as far as the backstage experience though, pumping up, it was very fast paced. And as far as me doing it blind, it was the same thing though. When we lined up and I was standing beside the guys that I'm about to go and compete against on stage, the guys that are my competitors and so-called enemies that I'm trying to beat, I couldn't see what they looked like. I could not, I didn't know if he was, more jacked, more cut, just leaner, or what it was. I didn't know. I couldn't see him. I talked to him, and I got pumped up, and I did. So it could be a good thing and it could be a bad thing. And I like to look at it as the good thing is it didn't intimidate me, it didn't make me worry. It was me in my own world. We went out on stage and I did my thing. I didn't have to worry about what other guys were looking like. I didn't have to worry about other guys trying to psych me out. I didn't have to worry about any of that because I went on stage, I couldn't see any of them, and I just worried about doing my best, doing what I've been practicing over the past 6 months, and just trying to kill it. So overall, it was definitely a different experience going in and competing blind. I think the most difficult part about me doing this and trying to do it all by myself was the fact that I never knew if my physique was where it needed to be compared to other people. It's been a few years since I've seen my physique, and I don't think that I've really ever been that lean, and I didn't know what I needed to do. Now, as far as the positives, like I said, it had to be posing, because when I went on stage and posed, it was just like I was posing every day in the gym, and also that when I was backstage, when I was on stage, I couldn't get stage fright. The competitors could not psych me out, and I was just kind of in my own little world. So as far as the whole process and the experience of competing in my first bodybuilding competition without any vision, it was a great experience, and I learned so much about my body. I learned so much about how it's not necessarily the body, but more or less mental, because it's a very stressful, and it's just a big battle mentally when you start dieting down for long periods of time and trying to take it to that extreme. So I can't wait until today. It's December now, December of 2017, so it's a couple months after I competed in this competition, and I cannot wait until next year because I've learned so much. And I believe that I have already got me a coach lined up and ready to go for my next competition, because if I have a coach, I can FaceTime my coach and he can look at my physique and say, keep doing what you're doing great, and you are right on track. Or I can FaceTime him and I can go through the poses and he can say, we're gonna change this, we're gonna adjust this because I think you need to be a little bit leaner. Whereas, like I said, the most difficult part for me being blind, going through this experience and going through my first competition, was not knowing what I needed to do, because I didn't know what I looked like. And of course, the judges judge you off of what you look like, and if you are a blind, I believe that's why I don't think a blind person could be a bodybuilding judge. It's strictly all a visual judging about how the physique looks and appears. So I hope this makes sense. I wanted to talk to you guys about the whole experience of my first competition because it's been, I've been a little bit busy. I just got back from New York with my guide dog Diesel just last week. And I've been very busy since my competition, and I haven't had any time to really talk to you guys about how the whole experience went in detail. And if you do have any more questions for me about my competition, about me as a blind bodybuilder, about me being blind, or anything about my life that you would like me to answer in a video, or just simply just answer in general, just please comment down below in the comment section, and I will definitely answer those for you guys. And if you did enjoy this video, please give it a big thumbs up, like the video, and if it's your first time stopping in on the channel, go ahead and subscribe and click the bell alert notifications. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel, and because we got some big things coming in 2018. So make sure you're subscribed, and as always guys, thank you all so much for watching, and keep getting stronger.